For more info on the topic, focus, and guest of the episode, please check the description below. Please enjoy. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Inky Thoughts podcast. Today's, as always, a special episode. My guest today joins me from, at least from my perspective, the other side of the planet, all the way down from what he and I would call Aotearoa. Some of you might know as New Zealand. And as they would say, Kia ora. I'm not sure if I get the pronunciation right. We've already tested it. I'm not good at pronouncing indigenous Maori. But we are today going to be discussing indigenous Maori tattoo traditions in New Zealand, so to speak. Of course, it's going to be mainly talking about the modern perspectives on it, as neither of us are historians, but we'll get more into that. And before I ramble on too far, Te-Haunui, would you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, kia ora, mates. Kia ora, everyone. My name is Te-Haunui. Thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm from a small place called Waimana in Ruatoki, which in the Eastern Bay of Plenty in Aotearoa, New Zealand. And I'm an artist, but I mostly specialise in tattooing, doing tamoko, which is New Zealand or Maori tattooing, and realism.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen your both your work in both styles, so to speak, and it's quite beautiful, both of it. I mean, of course, I have a bias and fascination mostly with the traditional
Mm,
tamoko, because realism, as great as you are at it, it's not specific to any culture in the world as such anymore. But the tamoko is also what we're going to be talking more about today. But I'm curious to know first, what, and I've never been more excited about this, and I know I wrote that in the interview guide as well, but I genuinely mean it. What got you into tattooing and tattoos originally? Like, what first got you curious and interested in it?
Yeah, so my dad, who's an artist as well, and he's been an artist long before my siblings and I were born, he used to tattoo. And started tattooing about 1 or 2 years before I did, I think, if I remember correctly, maybe even a bit more. Um, anyway, one day in 2006, he was tattooing my auntie and uncle, so my mum's brother and his wife, at their place, and then he was going to tattoo his sister, so my other auntie. But that auntie of mine, she asked him if I could do it, and I was only 15 at the time. This is 2006,
Oh,
and I had just turned 15. I was 15 for a month, and she asked if I could do it. He said, "Yep, if he wants to." And then she asked me, and I said yes. And at that point, I didn't even really think about getting into it. It was just something that my dad did. I think I was just young, teenager, so I thought
yeah.
about teenage things. I wasn't thinking about tattooing or anything like that. But I did it. It was my dad's design. He put the design on, and he sat next to me and sort of walked me through it as I was doing it. And it was hard as I
Yeah, I
didn't
can
know how
imagine.
fast to pull a line, how deep the ink's supposed to go, when do you dip the needle into the ink cap, all of these things. And I was sweating bullets as I was tattooing her.
Oh,
And the results were terrible, but it was my
yeah.
first one, and she was happy about it. Um, and then after you do one, all of your mates and your cousins think you're a tattooist, so they all want to get one too, even though I'm still rubbish as. So that was 19 years ago now. It was September, so last month
Yeah.
was the end
And
of
you
year
almost
19, and
it
I'm
sounds like you almost
starting my
got pulled
20th year.
into it like against your will. Like
Yeah, 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 I sort of
you did
was.
one, and then everybody.
Yeah.
But it must. I mean, I get that you were very nervous, but did you feel like the attraction to it immediately? Was there some excitement too when you were doing that first tattoo?
Yeah, yeah, definitely was some excitement. Mostly nervousness,
Yeah, I can imagine.
and uh, I think the biggest overwhelming feeling I had was the fact that it was permanent, which is obvious.
Yeah,
But when you're doing
yeah.
it, it 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 really punches you in the face how permanent it is.
I will say. I mean, that's the thing that I think from both sides of the tattoo machine. it doesn't really dawn on people before you're actually doing it that, oh wait, this is actually going to be there forever, which is,
Yes.
it is quite a trial by fire, so to speak. No
Mm-hmm.
matter how you look at it. So I can imagine
Yep.
at 15, it must have been pretty like, oh, that's awesome. I really admire what my dad does. What, you want me to? Oh,
Yeah, yeah. And I hadn't even really held a tattoo machine before that.
wow.
Yeah, we would
But
stretch
it
for
wasn't
him,
with
my dad.
machine and not like, because I know there's some
Yeah.
traditional tools as well, but did it with machine in this case.
Yes, yep, only machine. I've never used. So
Oh,
the traditional tools you're talking about is called an uhi,
okay.
where you tap. It's like a. So traditionally it was a bone. They would use bone and they would carve it. Oh, like people would carve it, and you'd attach it to a piece of wood, and it'll be tapped and carved into the skin. But yeah, I haven't done uhi. There
No,
are very few mokoaras who actually use
I can
uhi.
imagine.
Yeah, and then even then, there's a like a certain technique that our ancestors used to do that I know a couple of people now, like in the modern age, who have tried it, but and that's where it's carved in the skin.
All right.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a whole
It's wild the
different
techniques that
thing
used to
too.
exist.
Yeah.
Like it is funny how many places use bone or rock because we were talking a bit before the interview about how, for example, I interviewed an Inuit tattooer before, and they also
Mm.
used bone to tattoo with back then. It's quite fascinating that so many cultures around the world, so far spread apart, have all been like, oh, well, bone seems like a good tool.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Yeah,
it's
exactly.
quite fascinating, But it's also the carving into the skin. I mean, you see a lot of that within Polynesia and also Aotearoa. There's been some tapping techniques, some of the more carving stuff and all that.
Mm.
But I think, I mean, I've seen some of your content as well on social media, and I think the most important part of it is the artistry. As I
Mm.
see it, that's where most of the cultures. And of course, somebody can argue it's great that somebody's keeping the traditional ways of applying the to alive as well. It's great that we still have that knowledge, but the
Yes.
design is where you really can see, oh, this is a out Maori tattoo, this is a Samoan tattoo, this is a the, but what did you start out doing traditional or tamoko then?
Yes. Yep. I started off doing tamoko, and then not long after that, like so, the whole time I've been doing tamoko, the whole time I've been tattooing. But in those early days, being a teenager, I was heavily influenced by American culture, and one of those being an American tattoo artist named Mr. Cartoon, who did like the
Okay,
Chicano,
yeah.
like LA style tattoos. So I got into lettering way back then. I was still in school, and I remember doing some lettering tattoos on some of my mates. And man, honestly, if I had the money or if I knew someone who could tattoo that sort of stuff, my arms would have been covered in lettering.
Yeah. I mean, but it looks great. It looks absolutely amazing. But I do find it very cool and very interesting that you always had that dual styles in a way. And also, as I've seen with some of the beautiful pieces you do, there's also a Maori influence in some of the realism pieces
Mm,
you do. It's just in a different way. Like you are, of course, and I think very rightfully so, very proud of your Maori heritage as well. I saw the beautiful, bit similar to the carving you showed me earlier. You're doing for your partner, off camera, beautiful wooden carving. But you did a tattoo of something similar as well in black and gray realism that was really beautiful. I saw on your feet. And it's quite cool that you can mix them together like that, but it also means that you sort of get to explore your heritage in your own way, in a sense.
yeah, I think that's an interesting point because I remember being younger and I've always had interest in multiple areas of art. Like I was into graffiti at one point as well.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I was into all sorts of different styles of art, and I remember at one point I would have been might have been around 20, and I was an art student, and I thought maybe I had spread myself too thin, and I thought, oh, maybe I should. Like I felt like I needed to double down on a specific medium in art.
Mm.
But just because it seemed like that's what everyone else was doing, but it didn't feel. It felt restrictive to me. And then there came a point. I don't know. Maybe within 10 years of that, I realized that. Oh, actually, no. I remember when it was. It was around the time when the world got into NFTs because I got into NFTs as
All right.
well. And I created this NFT project, and it combined multiple areas of art that I loved. And I was like, man, this is cool. Like, I thought this was a cool opportunity to put all of my interests into a single area. And it was that
Yeah.
point, I think, well, the most obvious point for me that I can remember, where it felt like, no, like, it's not a disadvantage to be into a bunch of different things. I think it's an advantage. And so now, as you were saying, there's always that Maori influence on the art that I make. Sometimes it's on purpose, sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
But because of all of those interests I've followed, it means that I can bring a different perspective into I suppose, into the tattooing and moko world,
Mm.
which means that I make something unique, something that is an expression of myself and of my interests that that I enjoy.
Yeah. I mean, but that's also the thing. Like, oftentimes, at least I've found, which is true in this case as well, by the sound of it, doing different things can often inspire one another. When you feel stagnant in one area, you can sort of explore a different way of expressing your artistry, and then it might rekindle both in a weird sense. Uh, Again, with the example of doing Maori inspired photorealism tattoos, black and gray realism, that can also be like, well, if you go stale with doing traditional tamoko, and if you've done dots of those size, they're beautiful. All that, that's not what, we're not saying that you suddenly are like, fuck it, mid tattoo, just throw the tattoo machine away and like, I'm not drawing another line or doing another. No, but doing that then can also reconnect you with like, oh, this is actually what I found cool about the Tamoko stuff, to doing this part of the Maori culture, but it's also really cool to incorporate it, here with doing the wood carving, and then you throw a little, Tamoko like design into that, and it's cool, and in a sense, and this is me mainly, building what you said in a way. It also, like I hinted at, it lets you explore your own connection to your culture and
Mm,
what you find important and like about it. Just like it might be for many of your clients. Like that's why some of them might want, hey, I love where I'm from, but I want this thing because that reminds me of family, and I want a photorealism,
mm,
but it could still, be a very Aotearoa or Maori piece. And others might be like, hey, can you do this Tamoko piece, but can you somehow make it relate to this part about my family background? And both things sort of equip you for that because you, as you said, draw inspiration from your own connections to it and the different art styles you've done and all that.
yeah, yeah. I think something important you just brought up was the effect that other areas of art can have on the work that you create. So, for example, back in 2018, I wanted to retire from tattooing fully. So that includes moko, obviously. And the reason I had gotten there was because it just felt like it didn't feel fresh and exciting to me anymore. Like I felt like I had done everything that I wanted to do creatively in that space. And I thought um, it was a bit irresponsible of me to be doing this permanent thing on people when I'm not enjoying it at all. So like I didn't look forward to doing it. Like every day I had a job, I was like, ah, man, I can't wait till this is finished. Which is not a good place to be
Yeah,
in when you're
no,
when you're
that's
tattooing and
horrible.
doing muku. Yeah, so I thought um, it was a good choice to just stop. And what I ended up doing, I didn't end up stopping 100%. I ended up just slowing down. I tattooed a lot less, and I gave myself more time to do other creative things, and it
Mm.
made me enjoy muku all over again. It felt like I was back at being a 15-year-old and wanting to learn the ropes and yeah, so I just gave myself a bit of creative space, I suppose, and yeah, and it made my work better as well. I literally slowed down my process to try and focus on doing
Mm.
better work. So I did less work that was
I
better,
mean, yeah,
and I got more
that's incredible to
from it.
hear. Yeah. But I mean, that's also what I've seen in some of your videos that I mean, absolutely love some of the stuff you said. And also related to the whole process, especially you talk about a lot when you're doing moko because it's quite important to people when you do tamoko. But the whole bit of like, you're very open about how your process is, but that's also a way of setting your boundary for so you'll still enjoy
Yes.
tattooing, which is it's a mutually beneficial thing that you're like, hey, you would love to do tamoko for people, it's important to them, but here's how you go about it. And you're also, which I found so cool. I mean, I love education. I've also educated myself. I'm a sociologist, I'm very biased here, but also love the way that you'll explain how you do it and also be very open about, hey, you may have seen some people do it this way with Tamoko. You may see the ceremonies and the I don't know what they're called these, but the cultural events in the common houses, shared public houses where they meet and have meetings and all that. You may have heard about this rule. You may have heard about you need to consult your what is it, Wapanui? I can't remember the name. No, your family
Uh,
at least. Your
oh, your whānau?
family. Yeah, your
And iwi,
See,
which is
I
your like
try so
tribe
well,
or
but
hapu.
I'm so
Yeah.
bad sometimes.
You're doing great.
But there's so many different preconceptions people have, especially when it comes to indigenous forms of art in tattooing. That I love how you're educating people as well. But like, hey, I do it this way. You come in, you talk to me, I design something for you. I'll listen to what you want, what you're looking for, but you don't get to come in and like be like, oh, can you do this line here? Can
Mm,
you move this up? Because that's honesty. It's not being mean in any sense. It's just you being like, hey, this is also important to me, and I want you to have a good traditional Maori tattoo. So here's how I do it.
yeah. So yeah, it was hard. It was a hard journey to get there
Yeah, I can
because
imagine.
I'm not a very confrontational person. So a lot of times, and I'm like a people pleaser. So I'd always just want to do what people want, which was to my own detriment. I would end up getting drained and doing like moko on people going into these big settings in a wharenui or
Mm,
wharepuni, like you were saying,
yeah,
at a marae, and yeah, just coming out exhausted. Which from time to time, depending on the kaupapa or the situation, is necessary. But
yeah,
there was a period where it just I was only getting drained, and that definitely led to me wanting to retire and quit doing moko and tattoos altogether. But yeah, so when I decided to carry on tattooing, I came up with a process that worked for me. One of those things was no support people, because I've most of my tattoo career I've tattooed from home, various homes, but it's always been from home. And part of hosting people is you're thinking if are they okay, do they need a cup of tea,
yeah.
do they need a drink, all of those sorts of things. And so that would split my focus away from the work that I'm trying to do on the person, so it makes it easier. And I've noticed too, and my clients have given me feedback on this, that it's easier for them as well, for a lot of them. Obviously not everyone, but for the majority of them, that's the reason they come to me, or one of the reasons they come to me, is because they don't want to have to worry about who to bring, because a lot of people have big whānau, big families,
Yeah.
and it takes the decision out of their hands. So they go, "Oh, sorry, whānau, none of you can come," and they come, and a lot of them are like, "Oh, yes, like I can just focus on me. I don't have to worry if my partner's all right, or if my mum, whoever's with me, is all right." All
Or the
these sorts of
aunties,
things, and
cousins, the
yeah, yeah, exactly, and not everyone agrees, and I've
no,
come to understand that that's okay, And I tell people straight up. I just say, "Oh, I don't think I'm the best fit for you. I hope you find the right artist for what you want, because I want everyone to have the experience that they want to have.
yeah,
And if that means having their
absolutely.
whole family there, it just means." it probably won't be with me. And
No, but that's
I don't
I
think
think that's a
myself
beautiful point you're making up.
special.
You're making there an absolutely fantastic point you're making there. Because I mean, I've followed a few Maori artists, and I think if people want the complete traditional experience, you can go and find an artist that will do
Mm.
exactly that with the entire ceremony, with all your family and friends, and for some that's very important. Um, like I've followed a bassist in a metal band from New Zealand. I forgot his name now, actually, but the
Oh,
band's
two,
called Alien Weaponry. Yeah, two.
two
And,
Edmonds. Yep.
he was very open about the whole ceremony and how he loved it and having his mother there and all that. But I think that's absolutely beautiful. But an important thing here is you're not taking away from that by making it your way. You're just saying,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah,
I
yeah.
do this, and if you want the more intimate version of it, because as a sociologist, especially, I know that for some people, they want intimacy when it's this important to how they see themselves, how they connect
Mm.
with their cultural background, that. And for others, they want the ceremony and the whole thing. But that's how we all differ. And it's great that you're there to deliver this because for some, they want to be intimate with you in this situation and get this tattoo that's so important to them and how they see themselves in their Maori or New Zealand heritage in some way, their sense of belonging or their relationship to their own culture and that. And that's beautiful.
Yes, yes. And it was quite scary. Like, and or for me anyway, in Māoridom, there are a lot of collective ideologies around. I'm sure this is all cultures actually, not just Māori culture,
Yeah,
but I'll
I
just
would
speak
imagine.
for myself and my experience. Um, and sometimes there are there can be people out on the fringes who don't fit in with what is usually the process for things.
Yeah,
And like I'm trying to be very cautious around how I say this, but um, I suppose for me, I get the feedback from the people who mean the most to me, and they support what I
yeah,
do and how I do things, and that's good enough for me. And I do get some people who don't agree.
yeah.
And then sometimes you get people who who don't agree as well, which is harder than strangers who don't agree. you
Well,
know.
that'll always be worse, which is a stranger. You can
Yeah.
sort of distance yourself from it and say, well, you're over here, you have that belief, I'm over here, I have my belief. But when it's somebody close to you, that becomes a much more difficult thing to handle.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm glad it hasn't been, people who are super close, but it's been some people that I know. Um, but I think, like, I just know my intention with
Yeah.
what I do and what I'm trying to do, and I know there's no ill intention that I have.
Like I view it this way, and of course I'm not Maori or from Aotearoa at all or anything like that. But I think it's always great when you make things accessible to those that connect with it. You know,
Mm,
everybody has their boundaries, and as we said before, for some they want to connect with their culture so deeply, and also on a spiritual level and all that stuff. I'm not myself spiritual, and me and
you and I both.
Te-Haunui talked earlier, and he's not either. And the thing is, for us, it's more about the cultural connection. For others, it might go
Mm,
even deeper than that, and then they might want the ritual and all the traditions and all that stuff. And that's where what you don't want to, as far as I see it, you don't want to take away from that. You just want to offer something else. That's the important
yes.
difference, because one thing doesn't subtract from the other, and all of you are together reclaiming a heritage that was basically stolen from you by European settlers, you know, because they illegalized tamoko and they
Yeah.
while adorning themselves with it in some cases. So it was an
Yeah.
absolutely textbook example of cultural appropriation in the most horrible sense. But you know, they would take that away. So any form of like reclaiming that heritage is also a way, whether spiritual or not, of being proud of your cultural heritage and also showing that you want to connect with it.
Yeah, yeah. Um, there were also examples in the past of
Yeah,
what were called Pākehā Māori. So Pākehās traditionally was just like Europeans, but it can come to mean anyone, other people who are non-Maori as well. But anyway, I
Oh,
digress. Back in the day, there were people considered Pākehā Maori who, in some instances, were accepted into Maoridom, and so they were gifted the facial moko. So there are
mm,
some good examples that I
absolutely
know
as well.
of.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I mean, it's many a black
yeah,
mistake, but I mean, that is one of the things I love, especially about. I mean, at least I've not met many, but I've met some Maori in you as well now, even though it's online. And what I love is that you all seem to have a beautiful way of thinking about your cultural heritage, where it's like, hey, if you've dipped your toe in, you're part of the family. Like
mm,
you don't. There's no need for
yeah,
halves and holes and all that stuff. It's just, hey, if you dipped your toe in, you're cousin now. Come along,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And I
That
find it
does
very
happen a lot here. Yeah.
and I find that very cool because weird example. I experienced Scottish people being the same way. That are like, "Oh, you like being here? Cool. Well, you're part of the clan now." Like and uh, that sort of way of not protecting your culture by being xenophobic, but rather protecting it by being like, "Here's what we do. You want to be
Mm,
part of that? You're welcome."
yes,
You know,
yes, and I love that.
I
I
find that
love
so
that.
beautiful. Yeah, and I mean that's what you're living as well. I mean I've seen the work you do and how you handle your clients, and that's absolutely what you live by as well. You're very much like, oh, okay, you're part of the family. Come along, cousin. Let's get you a good tattoo. Like, you know,
Yes, exactly.
and I think it's a beautiful thing as well. That it's like, hey, it doesn't matter if you are white, Maori, or if you are more, for lack of a better term, even though it sounds horrible, ethnically pure Maori, so to speak.
Mm.
It doesn't matter. It's if you are Maori, you're Maori, and you can get tamoko. You know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And actually, I want to talk on that point too. And this
Yeah,
is
absolutely. Go on.
my view from what I've grown up with is and there are a lot who agree to, but Maori being Maori is not just what you're born into, you
Yeah.
know, not just the blood that you have, but it's also it's like cultural as well. So I have examples of aunties and probably some uncles too who I don't didn't know weren't Maori, who are not Maori by blood at all, but they grew up in Te Ao Maori, like in the Maori world,
Mm,
and
nice.
they have Maori names, you know, like they don't know themselves any other way. And anyway, one of the bros, and one of them is his mum, and
Nice.
he asked another mate. She was just curious about it and about moko kauai, which is the chin moko that women
Mm,
wear, and the other bro who's a moko artist as well. He said, "Bro, like you know, she grew up on that whenua or that land, and you know, she's connected to that whenua, and like she can go do it." And I agree. Like
mm.
it's being Maori is yeah, it's cultural. Like it's the things you do, the way you behave. Not that it's like it's not like a super strict thing, but it's one of those things
No.
like you know it when you see it. You know
Yeah,
like
I mean, of course, it's
the
not
way
just
people
I
behave.
can't just go on a holiday to New Zealand and then I'm
Yeah,
suddenly
yeah,
Maori,
yeah,
you know.
yeah, yeah.
But I get what you mean. That like for people that have committed to it and
Mm,
identify with it and live it, it doesn't matter if it's by blood or it's through actions and identification. They are Maori, and I think
yep.
that's very beautiful, to be honest. But that's also it's also a great way of putting the distinction out of who's living, not to become get dark with it, but who's living in like a colonial mindset or who's living in a mindset of like all coming together and creating a culture
Mm,
together. Because if you live in a colonial mindset, I mean, I'm just speaking out of from pure theory here, you're not going to want to identify with traditional Maori culture. You're going to be with some of those assholes you see in any country that go like, no, no, we're not doing that anymore. Now we do this, and we do Western values and all that sort of bullshit.
mm,
So that's the thing. That's the opposite, you know. Whereas people that even if they are purely, even if they're see-through like me, if they identify with and live it and checked it and value it and all that stuff. Of course, I think they should be valued Maori as well. I mean, I'm saying that as an outsider, but I think it's a beautiful thing that is valued as well. That it's not like, hey, go away. I know you want to be part of us. I know you do all the right things, but you're not part of the club anyways. That's
Mm,
you know. Again, my only main example is how people treated me when I lived in Scotland for a couple of years. Most of them would have been like, "Hey, if you like Scotland, if you like the culture, if you want to live it and you want to be part of it and all that, come along. We don't care what you look like, where you're from in the world, or anything. Just come along. You can be part of it." And that's the thing. But I would also get if I'd been there and been like, no, fuck you, Scottish people. You don't know what you're talking about. I don't want your haggis. I don't want your beer. I
yeah.
don't want anything. I don't like your songs. I don't think you're stupid for wanting your own culture. You're just British. Then I would also get if they're like, yeah, you can't be part of it. You can't join in. So I'm sorry, that was a very long-winded way of saying I really admire the way you do that. Like that you can
On me.
acknowledge that, hey, they identify this way and they want to live it, and thus they are.
Mm,
Yeah. But I'm curious though, because I know that there are certain, I mean, I might be completely wrong, but at least from what I've seen from the outside, there are certain levels to the cultural importance of some tattoos. And I know the face moko have more cultural importance than most. Are there some rules of like who can get them and or not? Like in a more defined sense. I mean, I get that, of
yeah.
course, they need to identify as Maori. That goes without saying, but
Yep. Yep. So you have sort of like the general body, which is accessible to pretty much everyone.
hmm.
Next, you would probably have the puhoro, or the taurape, or the moko whakarua, or the peha. Those are just some of the names, which is when you get your thighs, your bum,
Oh, right,
up
right,
your
right.
back, even onto your stomach. So that's the most common name for that. Moko is called puhoro. Um, and for me, I would reserve that for Maori, or as we were talking about, people who have
Yeah.
sort of been adopted into it for whatever reason. Um, and then the next step up from that, in terms of importance and significance, is moko kanohi, which is facial moko, as we said earlier, off camera. For male, it's called, one of the names is called mataora. There are other names as well. That's the most common name at the moment. For females, it's called moko kauai on the chin. So those two are the most significant in Māoridom, and like they have a bunch of different meanings. One of those, or some of those, including if you're an eldest child or not. Some of those, including who was present next to you when you got it done. Like if there were um, eldest children as well, or younger, things like that. Also signifies like your placement in your role in your whānau or your hapu, which is like your sub tribe, and your iwi even, which is your tribe. So yeah, all these sorts of things. And I've had people over the years who are not Maori who have asked if they can receive puhoro, or no, I haven't had anyone ask if they can get a facial moko though. But I've asked people who are non-Maori ask for puhoro, and I've said, "Oh no, oh, like that's I can't, and I don't want to." Like it's yeah, it's something important that I
Well, I
think.
think that also makes sense because a culture is the people of a culture are the ones that decide what is most
Yeah,
important to it. And I think
yeah,
when there's a clear consensus among most Maori that, hey, this here is kind of, for lack of a better term, sacred to our culture, then it's
mm,
of course it's very logical to me that you're like, yeah, I know you came here all the way from Canada, you can't get furu.
yeah,
Not gonna happen. We can
yeah,
do another tattoo on you. You can get a Maori style tattoo, but it's not gonna be that one. Like,
yes, yes,
because that requires you to know that they are also, Maori in some sense, one way or
yep.
the other. And I would imagine that because the Aotearoa or the Mokukaoi, uh, yeah, I think that was probably not correct, but
No,
I'm
you did
trying.
good.
Well, but, because they're even more sacred, also get if that would require seeing further proof or commitment, so to speak.
Mm.
It require more confirmation that okay, they are Maori and they really want this, but also because it's a face tattoo, of course, you also want to know okay, they're gonna be all right having this, you know. And I
Yeah,
think those,
yeah,
in a sense, those would probably go hand in hand with some people that are very proud of their heritage, that they'll probably also carry it much with
yes,
much more dignity and ease having
yes.
a
I
face
think.
buckle.
Sorry to just interject here.
No, absolutely. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Another important aspect too is when you wear facial moko, whether you like it or not, you're representing a culture.
Yeah,
Wherever you go, and I think that's definitely a consideration when,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
even in just among moko artists that I know, um, there's a view that we don't just put moko kanohi on anyone just because they're Maori. There are some,
It
and
has to
like
be a
I
good reason.
sort of thought this already before. Like it's you put it on people if they're good people. Not that you're trying to be like an arbiter or anything like that, but
No, no, no,
you just know what a dickhead is. You know what I mean? Like someone who's an asshole,
no.
and you don't want
Yes.
to put that on an asshole. Because they're
Yeah.
gonna go around and not represent you as
No,
the person who put it on them well, and even further like Maori culture.
but that's a great point with what you explained goes into a Facebook. All the connections it can have to your
Mm,
different tribal connections and all that stuff, and your cultural heritage and your position in your family and all that. It makes sense that you would then want, especially for people able to read it, so to speak, to understand the visual language of a Facebook. You don't want it to then go out and be like, oh no, I just got this done. No idea what it means. Like no idea
yeah,
what
yeah,
like
yeah,
that would sort of that's where it would become appropriation if let's say you tattooed some tourist that was there and they got a they somehow talked you into doing a face smoke on them and then they get interviewed when they get home and they're like, oh, I don't know what it means, but it looks cool.
yeah. That's the
That would be
worst. One of
horrible.
the worst. Yeah, exactly.
But I get what you mean. Like because there's so much put into it in that sense. Of course, you want to be more careful with who gets it, and it's fascinating, but also makes a lot of sense what you're telling me about because I didn't know that beforehand. That even some
Mm,
Maori haven't proven, for lack of a better term, haven't proven themselves
yeah,
worthy of that kind of tattoo. Because that makes a lot of sense. Because
mm,
I think a lot of people have the misconception that a lot of Maori people just wait around in line until they can get that, or it's a coming of age thing, and it's not. It's
yeah.
the if I remember correctly, it's
That's
not a
one aspect.
thighs
That's one
tattoo.
aspect, though.
That's the yeah, yeah, yeah. It can be at least, but it's yeah. I think a lot of people misunderstand it that if they go to New Zealand, every other Maori person is gonna have a face moko.
Yeah,
Because it's great that we see more people among your politicians, among TV hosts, and all that have them, and it's great to see people be proud of their Maori heritage. But I think, but I always want to tell people that yeah, I want to see more of that too. But you still have to remember, not everybody's going to do that.
yeah,
It shouldn't be prohibited. I want to see even more people from Maori backgrounds with it. But that doesn't mean you can go and just think, oh yeah, everybody's going to have that. Everybody when I get to Auckland, they're just going to all have face smoker.
yeah. If you're gonna go somewhere where you're gonna see all Facebook, or go to the east coast of the North Island.
Okay.
They're all down there.
That's a higher concentration like traditional Maori tribes and stuff like that. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they have what's called mokopapa, which is like a gathering. So those are those gatherings you're talking about, or one version of those gatherings where they just tattoo faces. And this is down there's a iwi called Te-Haunui, which is down the east coast, like I said. And man, down there are probably more people who have facial moko than those who don't. Like there, that's definitely the
Okay.
highest concentration of facial moko in the whole
So that would
country.
be so that would be some tribes and cultures where it is a comment of age thing, I imagine, for them getting a face model.
Um, yeah, yeah, it's definitely going that way. It used to be like that, from what I've heard. Like, well, one aspect of giving moko, it used to be like that, a coming of age thing, and they're leading the charge down there. And this is not to say that the moko artists are just from there. Like, they're from even
Yeah.
further around the east coast, Ngāti Porou, but they're from that place as well. Yeah, and because there's some young people getting done who are 15,
Wow.
even 14, getting their, like,
I mean, I won't
because they
recommend
grow
any
up in it.
teenager getting tattooed, but I do get the traditional cultural heritage and why they would want it. Like I do
Mm.
get that it's a more of an exceptional case than just any, teenager going in and getting a
Yeah,
heart
yeah,
slit
yeah,
done
yeah,
with
yeah.
Kurito. Like this is something very different, I would say. It would be the same if I
Yes.
saw a teenager from Greenland getting the small facial tattoos the women get there sometimes. That would still be something way different than just any teenager in Copenhagen, for example, walking in and be like, "Oh no, my mom said it was okay, so I got a sleeve." you know.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yep.
Oh,
Anyway, I
Yeah,
was
that's better.
wondering, Te-Haunui, um, are you ever going to go through with a face muckle yourself?
I've definitely thought about it. um, for myself, if I feel the urge to really get it done, then I will.
I mean, that's the thing. It's not a must, you know. It's not
Mm.
somebody's going to come and be like, "Oh, you don't have that. Well, you can't do muckle anymore. You can't do." You know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I do imagine you get asked that quite a lot, often, or at least from time to
Ah,
time. People might ask you.
yeah, yeah. I have been asked at time to time, like, why I don't have it, but I do moko.
Yeah.
Um, I think the honest answer is I haven't stopped long enough to actually
Mm.
properly consider it. And then commit to it. And what I mean by stopped is like stop doing stuff, making and whatever else.
I mean, that is the thing. It is quite a commitment as well, and you want it to
Mm,
feel well, go, and especially for a man, it's a lot of the place to
yeah,
get
yeah,
tattooed.
yeah.
I mean, it's the nose and the cheeks as well, right? Or is it a
It's
bit
all of it.
different from design? Oh, it's
Yeah,
all of it.
so there's different
Yeah.
significance to the whole thing. Yeah, even the forehead. So the most common that you do see is just the bottom half.
All right. Yeah.
But yeah, the top as well. Usually, if you see a full face moko, it means they're pretty significant, a pretty significant
Mhm.
person.
So the amount of overall, or at
Yeah,
least the coverage of the face has some. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I can't. It's so important to understand these things. So I really get why it's not just everybody that can get it. Because
yeah, yeah, yeah.
honor this sort of culture. Like, I was want to ask because I think one time you can piece by a Hawaiian tattoo artist that was living in Copenhagen once. And it was something, it was the chest thing, and she really wanted to do it, and she really assured me that it wasn't going to do appropriation because, I mean, research tattoos I know about, pollution and all the certificates and all that. And she, but if anybody ever asked me, oh, do you want to get a face smoker? I would always say, I would absolutely say no, because there's just, even if I want to face tattoos, it's not my thing, but it's so significant. There's so many rules to it. And you do want to honor that if you're going to go through with something like that. Or at least I think you should honor it if you want to go through with it. Anybody that doesn't want to do that isn't really committing enough to it, I think. Because
Yeah,
it's to your cultural heritage as well, whether you have it or not, that understanding these things, okay, they have a full face moko, that means this, they have half the face, or they have the thin one, or, all that stuff is quite significant. It's a bit like if you went and got a North Star tattooed on you without knowing who it is or anything about them. It was like, okay, cool. What about? I mean, it's something none of us really did. None of them really believe in, ACF things out here anymore. But it's still, it's a weird but sort of applicable example that if anybody wants to do, or anybody that see this often get a Egyptian god tattoo, but they don't actually know what Egyptian god it is. I always feel like, why do you get it then? Like, even if you don't believe
Yeah,
in that, I don't believe in it, but I promise you, if I got an Egyptian god tattoo, I would at least know which one it is and what they stand for and stuff like that. And I would read up on it a bit.
yeah. That's like the Native American like girl tattoo that people from all over the world get, or like a Native American chief with like
Yeah.
the full headdress and everything. And there's people from all over the world who get those tattoos, and I'm like, what did you get
And they
that
always
for?
like, oh, it's just cool. Is it? Yeah, but do you
Yeah,
know? Do you know what the significance is of the headdress? Do you know any of this?
yeah, and they don't. No one does. None of the people who
Because
get it
I
anyway.
don't mind they're doing that, but it's just a bit less appropriation if they've actually, done the reading, studied up on it, actually know what it's about. You know, it's it's a bit like if I saw somebody like I understand mostly, it'll be like I have a list and you go off, it's like, oh, what do you think we spent some minutes? And I'm like, I don't like no idea. Oh, did you watch Empire Strikes Back? What do you mean?
I don't know what
You
that
know,
is.
yeah. I just thought they look cool.
Yes.
You're not going to see comparison, but it's quite apt because that's the same thing. Like if you saw somebody with a Maori tattoo, you'll be like, "Oh, what is that? What might it mean?" And it's not like you were saying earlier. It doesn't have to be like anything deep or like any specific language or something like that. But it's good if
Mm.
they know, "Oh, yeah, this guy did it. He sort of based it on this and this, and we talked about,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. That's a good thing because as a moko artist, you can like sometimes you can tell who did it, and if you can tell who did it, you're like, oh, yep, they probably went to this person to get it done. But then
yeah.
there are also times too where you can look at a piece and you go, whoever did that doesn't know what they're up to, like
Oh,
purely
yeah.
based on the placement of everything,
Well, I'll say I see that a
or
lot when
technique.
Western people do local, like, because I'm not saying they can't. Like, it's the same thing with like how you can find people that do beautiful Japanese bodysuits that are from the West, but usually
Yeah.
if they do, they've learned from somebody that knew what they were doing. Whereas you see
Yes.
with some Polynesian or Maori tattoos or Samoan tattoos, somebody just feels like, oh, that's just tribal. Yeah, I'll just look at it, design, and
Yeah.
just, it doesn't work like that. You gotta know what you're doing, you know.
That's usually one of the telltale signs of
Mm.
exactly that person is it's a combination of motifs from Polynesia.
Oh yeah,
It's not from one
they're like,
specific
oh,
place.
here's
Yeah, it's
so
a bit
Samoa,
of
that's
this,
got
bit of that,
a
but
huge
yeah, yeah,
difference.
exactly. And man,
No,
because
yeah,
like over in Europe, from what I've heard, like there's a lot of European people who love it,
yeah.
you know,
You a
and
lot of
it's like they
from what
fully
the
get their
States,
whole bodies, eh?
yeah, that you find people that really get into having Polynesian tattoos and they
Yeah,
get the studies done with it. And I think I've seen some great examples where they've studied it, they've really been up on it, they've been to Hawaii or they've been to, Aotearoa, they've been somewhere at least within Polynesia and been inspired and learned about it and stuff like that. And they find artists that know about it and they get a beautiful suit done, even if it's by somebody in Holland or somebody in Scotland or whatever.
mm.
But I've also seen great examples where it's just like they've just gotten this really like, for example, when you can see it's really inspired, for example, by Maori or Samoan art, but it's definitely done in a Western touch, like it's really like done up in a way where it's like, oh, I feel that life is actually, and it's not stupid,
Yeah. And
and
also, I just want to bring up. Sorry
but
to
even I
cut
can
you off.
tell something. Oh, so, no, absolutely, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
I want to bring up an important point too. Is this is my view, which is sort of an amalgamation of other moko artists' view, which is if you aren't Maori or if you weren't brought up and you didn't learn from someone who's Maori who knows what they're doing, you shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah,
And this is just talking about moko, and it's probably the same with other like Polynesian tattoo styles as well. But I can only speak for moko, and like because there's some people I know who aren't Maori, but they're taught by like a
yeah,
master,
yeah.
and for me, like I don't know that person, but I don't even know the master per se, but I know the respect that they hold.
Mm.
And for myself, I go, oh, if they're okay with you doing what you're doing, then it's all right by me too, because I know they wouldn't just give it lightly to anyone. Give that sort of knowledge.
That's very logical. I mean, I can't speak for this. She's not alive anymore, so I can't check with her. But at least she was herself.
Mm,
She was half Japanese, half Hawaiian Christian. But yeah, so that was really nice because I very much didn't want it to be like, oh no, Erica, especially her name was, just wanted to do a Polynesian piece. She's not actually from anywhere near Polynesia. You know, at least that was that. But I will say, I do admire when people go the extra mile and really assure it and reassure themselves that it is somebody that knows their stuff and
mm.
knows about tattoo style and the significance as well,
Yeah, yeah.
But
I
that's
think it's important.
always, yeah, absolutely. But I've seen too many, for not to dig into a stereotype here, but I've seen too many frat boy, frat guy like types that have like a whole Polynesian sleeve, and it's just like, what does that mean? Oh, it's just like warrior thing, or they saw the rock have it. It's like, yeah, but that's the rock's tattoo, like it's significant. He's Polynesian.
Yeah. Oh, that's another important point too. So with like, there's this conception that like that every moko artist can read a moko, and like you
Yeah,
can like there are designs and patterns that
yeah,
you
yeah.
understand maybe some traditional meanings of each pattern, but when you do a moko on somebody on the day you decide specifically what represents what. And like let's give an example. Like let's say someone came and got their moko done on their forearm, and then we both of us agree like, oh yeah, this part here, this represents the whānau you grew up with, so your parents and your siblings. This part here represents your own family that you've given birth to, so your children and your wife and whatever else. But the next moko artist can't look at it and go, oh yeah, I think that part
That's that.
represents his parents and his siblings, and you
Grandmother
know,
and your grandmother's from the North Island and your grandfather's
yeah,
from the
yeah,
South
exactly. And that's one aspect of why we hate when people copy someone's moko, because
Island.
that
Mm.
design
People want to
and
them.
yeah, we've imbued that meaning into it. So like if someone copies an exact design and the original wearer of it sees it on someone else and goes, oh bro, like you're wearing my family on you, you know, like
Taking
that's out of
somebody's
it. That's weird.
fingerprints. Yeah, it's almost like stealing somebody's fingerprints in a way. It's like that. It's like,
Exactly.
it's like, what are you up to?
Yeah.
Are you trying to take steal my life? Do you want my apartment? What's
Yes.
that? You know?
Exactly. Oh, take my bills too while you're at it. I'll happily let you take that.
If only that was the case, but no, I absolutely get your point there that sort of stealing that design, no matter what your intention was, because I get that for some it might be out of ignorance. They just think, oh, that's cool, I'm gonna do that as well. But it's very important that feeds back into our point that if you want to read up on it, like
Yep.
especially if you're not from the culture, because then you will learn, for example, that oh yeah, you shouldn't only copy somebody's design because it's actually so personal to that individual that you will end up, you know, it has no
Yeah.
significance to, you know,
And it's so easy today
yeah,
to learn about any culture.
absolutely.
With you have the
You guys
internet,
are, it's not
you
as
got
if
access to
secret
everything.
Bible that Maori people are keeping somewhere. It's like, no, no, only
Yeah.
read this. It's in an ancient tongue, and you will learn
Like everyone can get to a base level of understanding of like, oh man, like this is significant for these reasons. Like it won't have everything, but it's got
it.
enough for you to dive into this world.
I think that's a beautiful point you've also put across throughout this interview. That it's not like you're asking them to like know everything about
Yeah,
Aotearoa
yeah,
or
yeah,
Mars. You're just like, hey, just know enough to like, no, this is not for you. This is for you. Don't copy other people's stuff. You pay
yeah,
some
yeah,
respect
yeah.
to. Like, yeah, it's not like you expect them to come in and speak in complete. I don't know what the language is called, but Maori, like they're not gonna come in and to, you don't expect them to come in and be like, oh, you know what I mean? That's everything like that.
Yes.
You just wanted to at least understand it enough that they'll know. Okay, yeah, you can get a Maori tattoo on your lower arm. We're going to talk about. We're going to do, all those steps you talked about, the respect to the culture and all that, knowing that it's unique to the person. These simple things. It's not a lot to ask, I think.
Ah, exactly. And what was it? I was. I think I did a post, and it was about yeah, I did a post just about approaching like an artist in general, not specifically just a moko artist,
Hmm.
but like step one, I think, and I shouldn't have to even say this, is to say bloody hello. You know, like just say hello. That's not
I
too
mean,
much to ask.
it's wild because, I'm not a tattoo artist. I can only speak for how I've behaved and how people I know have behaved. So, but you see the, screenshots some people take of the influencers sometimes and share, and it's wild. They're like people just like how much of stuff like oh,
Yeah,
sure, I'm sure a message to that person because I didn't see my name anywhere in there. It's just it's wild.
it's mind boggling.
I wouldn't want to see how they apply for jobs.
Oh, I know. Like, it's no surprise to me if they get no's all the time. If they don't even know how to greet and introduce themselves.
Like it's pretty simple. I mean, even if you like me keep butchering somebody's name like I'm doing with the how it
Yeah,
is, it's still good to try. Like at least it's right. Like
yeah.
that's so cool. Like it's not like
It's not
but
too
I
much to ask.
just not even it's not mean at all. Like I fucked it up and thought at first because I don't know Maori names that it was just because it's hyphenated. That it was just Ted and then the other thing might be a middle name or something. And
Yeah,
then I was
yeah,
like,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
that's it. And I've not done it the wrong since. Like,
yeah,
it's the worst one that's gonna happen most of the time. It's like, oh no, actually, you say this or I go by this, like
yeah. So now
it's
you
class.
know, like personally, if you ever see a Maori name and it's got Te in the front, their first
Yeah.
name is Te, and whatever that other part is after the name. Any Maori, that's their
Also,
first name.
it's enough learning stuff like that because then I won't trip myself up when I meet somebody that's Maori and be like, oh fuck, or if I ask somebody that's like, are you always called Tim?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's such a common name, Te.
Wow, so many of you are named Tim.
Exactly.
I mean, I fucking love this. I mean, I've been keeping you for a while now, and I really love this interview. But always like we would have quite a laugh, to be honest. It's been quite lighthearted, so it feels weird to say this, but it's a tradition for me. But I always love to round off on a lighthearted note. And seeing as I'm Danish and you like to ride bicycles, I was wondering, is there anywhere in the world outside of Aotearoa where you really want to go and ride a bicycle?
Oh, definitely over in Europe. Like a
Hmm.
dream of mine would be to do the Tour de France before the actual
Oh,
tour, because that's
oh,
a thing they do, eh? Like I know my coach, one of his other athletes he coaches, he did it this year. So he went and did the
wow.
tour before the official Tour de France. That'll be a dream.
I
That
mean,
would be a
that's the
dream.
thing.
I'm not fit
I'm
enough now,
just
but one day.
I'm using a normal benefit to bicycles. Like I'll bike anywhere and I'll walk, very normal level. Like I own a bike. I'm used to own two bikes, but you're actually into it as a sport, and
Yeah,
that's why we did. It's quite impressive to see. Like, but but that's the irony for me is you really dream of doing it in Europe, and of course you have great views here. But I bet you if you ask any rider in Europe, they're like, "Oh no, I'm going to do it what Te-Haunui is doing." You're
yeah,
still
probably. That's how it always goes, eh?
that's how it is. It's the Scottish people. Oh yeah, I've seen them on some of that. Well, Horner, it's been so great having you on, and I can't thank you enough for coming on this humble little podcast and sharing your experiences and your insights. I've enjoyed it so much, and thank you for educating not just the audience but also me. I always love learning this stuff so I can be even better and understand, for example, your culture as well even better. Absolutely incredible. And please will you let people know where they can find more about what you do and hope if you have anything else on the touring as well you want to see, please plug that as well. But especially like, if they are in Aotearoa, I want to get a moko by you, where can it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Let me know if you ever come this way. But
Oh,
yeah, thank you for having me on. It's been been a good conversation. This is the first podcast I've done in a while where I've been a guest, and I enjoy it. I enjoyed having conversations like this. Yeah, if anyone listening, you can follow me practically anywhere. Te-Haunui Art, so it's my first name, my whole first name, and then art, the word art at the end of it. No spaces, just have it all together. Practically on every social media is where you'll find me. Um, yeah, I hope you got some value out of this, and uh, yeah, thank you.
well, I mean, I know I can speak for me. I certainly got a lot of value out of it. And to anybody watching or listening, we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Hello, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this awesome episode with Te-Haunui. I'm sadly horrible at pronouncing the name, and I wish I could be better at pronouncing Maori words and speaking like the language that I hear my lovely guests speak. But it's an incredible episode, and I really hope, despite the technical issues, of which there were few, I am also consider going to be switching away from Riverside by now because it's been kept giving me issues with audio and video recording and other stuff in editing and that. So yeah, that's a bit of housekeeping. But hopefully you take away the beautiful stuff Tahaunu was conveying and sharing with us from his own experiences as a Maori artist and creator, as a tattoo artist uh, who is native to this culture and has a lot to share about it. I think it was absolutely incredible, and I also learned an incredible amount from this episode, and I hope you did too. Um, and next time I will be talking to the amazing Miss Missy, as some may know her, my favorite girl, as I jokingly say, from LA. Incredible tattoo model, and we're going to be talking a bit about her own journey with reclaiming the self and continuing that sub series. But I don't want to spoil too much, but it does have to do with substance abuse and stuff like that as well. So do be warned about that. But she has been very courageous and awesome and kind to share her tough experiences in that way as well as just how she's reclaimed a sense of self also from the sexualization and patriarchal norms and values and that women often face also when getting tattooed. So yeah, hope you can look forward to that, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks.